Hi everybody, welcome along to a brand new show, Get Stuck In, brought to you by Sporting Life, and that's what we're going to do right now with Martin Dixon and Dan Barber. Both excited, the jump season just around the corner. Well, it's bursting into life now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it during the summer and stuff, but there's not like it, is there really? You get to this stage of the season when top names start emerging, and I suppose it applies to tracks as well. I don't know if you're at Cheltenham or Aintree this weekend, but when you see those names in the calendar, you do get a bit of a buzz.
Yeah, I'm a bit different to Dan. I completely flat right the way through, but then that Chepstow meeting hits. Everyone views it a bit differently. Some of the Chepstow, some Old Roan, which is this weekend. I mean, you've got to look forward to that. You look forward to back at some of the names. Monet's Garden winning it a few times, and likes of Frodon in more recent years. It's probably the race that has one of my recent punting miseries involved in it, because I was all over Vibrato Valtat. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
And he cantered into the lead the year. I think it was third intention, won it in the end, and I thought he had it 2 out. And it was for
the worst renewals ever. That.
It was for a few quid. It was a bad renewal actually. Yeah, it wouldn't fit in with the Monet's Gardens, would it? But no, it's always a good race, and this year looks like it's up to scratch with potential. There's some Grade 1 horses in there from last season.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to look at the old Roan Chase in due course. We're also going to look at the Showcase Meeting, the Maston Holden Hurdle, and Night Salute was a star horse last year. He was trained by Milton Harris, and earlier I caught up with him.
You know, for people that come into racing, I get great pleasure seeing he wasn't an expensive horse, and he gives everybody a chance to think they can get a good horse. You know.
Just you as a whole last season. You're training, you took your time off to come back, but come back with a bang last year. It was unbelievable.
I know, but listen, we've been through this before. It's like, so I would say determined. Some people would say stubborn character, and it became a matter of principle, really. So look, we've carried it forward and got a good team of people. Fantastic owners. We don't have a lot of what the game would call big owners, but we've got good owners, and we try and buy well. So we've had a good season last year, and we're touchwood going well this year. You know,
numerically, where are you compared to last year?
A different game. We've got probably nearly 80 horses in our care now, 65 stables, and another secondary yard for the pre-training. And I think number-wise, I think we're on 27, 28 winners so far this year. And at this stage last year, we were probably on 15, 16, something like that. So.
Wow. And people just join us. You're actually walking down at the start for Exeter's first race on Tuesday, because your horse is a little bit quirky. Someone might say like the trainer. What about Night Salute? He's not quirky. He's very straightforward and talented.
I worked him this morning with a real good horse called Stimulating Song and a real good bumper horse called Twin Jets, who are big, sexy, strong, athletic beasts. But they can't sugar off the little fellow who's at the tail, grabbing hold of them. So what you want, I said to Harry Reid, who was in the Twin Jets, who looks a magnificent specimen, walked past me. I said, that's what you want as a specimen, but that's what you want in their mind, and that's the reality, isn't it? Because it's always having a good, sexy horse, but if he hasn't got the mind, it's no good. And he's got the right mind. He wants to win.
And all touchwood, everything goes right. We're going to see him Saturday at Cheltenham.
Unless something's gone wrong since I've left the yard, he worked well, he schooled well. We're very happy. I'm doing a very little between now and then. Just saw Paddy, who's riding with me today. Look, it's nice that the 4-year-olds, I suspect Gordon will bring his horse. Yeah. Be a little surprised if Gary ran his on the ground. But look, Dan's got a chance. There'll be 3 or 4, but it'll be a good race, hopefully.
You've got quite a few entries. What else do you plan to go to Cheltenham with?
Got a real good, as I said, bumper horse called Twin Jets. He's unbeaten. He won a point, won 2 bumpers. We like him a lot. He runs, not sure which, but probably the maiden hurdle. We, like everybody else, a little bit worried about the ground, but I'll probably get up there very early Friday morning and have a walk round. We run a real good. We've got 2 good bumper horses unbeaten: Gentle Slopes and Earth Cry, owned by the same owner. One of them will turn up in the bumper. Fast ground, Earth Cry, little bit of cut, of any sort. The other horse could be anything. It's probably my favourite horse in terms of going forward at Gentle Slopes. And we may get tempted with Stimulating Song, but he's been off 18 months, and if the ground doesn't feel safe, we'll wait another day.
But for you, do you pinch yourself that you're going back to Cheltenham with I know it's a showcase meeting, but you're going back there with such a strong team?
Yeah, of course we do. Look, we're fortunate, but people say we're lucky, but we've worked hard. Everybody in the yard's worked hard. The staff have worked hard. The owners have been supportive. Before I had my 7 years off, Cheltenham was always okay. I had a few winners there. My first season I had a win or 2 there. So I don't want to run horses there that can't win. and it's hard to win there. But the horses I'm taking are runners.
Milton Harris, always good value. I wonder what ground is going to be at Cheltenham this week. John Pullin is the clerk of the course. Bits of rain around. I caught up with earlier, and first question was, what are conditions like at the minute?
We've updated this morning to good and good to firm in places. We had 10 mil of rain overnight on Sunday night, which was a great help. We're just continuing to water the areas that are a little bit quicker and still good to firm at the moment.
Looking at the forecast, Wednesday looks quite wet.
It does, yes. We're certain to get some rain on Wednesday. Probably looking between 5 and 10 mil. Some forecasts have us with a risk of up to 15 mil. But it certainly looks as if we'll get 5 to 10 mil, and then it's unsettled after that. Thursday itself looks as if it could be dry, but certainly looks to be some rain Friday morning and perhaps Saturday during racing as well.
So as we stand, it's Tuesday. Guessing largely good ground.
Hopefully, yes. If we get that sort of 5 to 10 mil, tomorrow and little bits and pieces between now and then, we would be in the main good ground, hopefully, for racing on Friday and Saturday. Good
stuff. And news broke yesterday, a 4-day festival is going to stay for the foreseeable future?
Yes, that's right. Yes, much talked about, but 4 days it remains, yes.
Right, it's time to look at the race. And later in the show, we're going to speak to Davy Russell, lots of things actually. He covers a lot of ground in that interview, from castrating dogs to big race winners. That's that now. We're going to talk about Aintree and Cheltenham. Start with at Cheltenham Friday and Saturday. Good entries?
They are, yeah. No, I mean, the big matchup will be Pied Piper against Knight Salute again. We know that they're dead heated at Aintree in the Grade 1. Still not quite sure how Pied Piper managed to throw that away. He sort of probably ended up in front a bit too long and left his chin. He can be a bit idle. I remember him on the flat with John Gosney. He used to wear the blinkers, and they worked for him. And he probably just ended up in front far enough out, and Knight Salute came and sort of joined him on the line, and it was tight between them. But I personally think Pied Piper's the better horse of the two, and I would fancy him to beat him on Saturday.
We're recording on Tuesday. I spoke to Gordon Elliott this morning. He is going, touch wood, all going well. Heard from Milton Harris. He is going as well, all been well. So it looks like they're going to rock up, which is good. And at the time of recording, Pied Piper is 6-4 and Knight Salute 7-4. Is that right?
Martin's got a stronger view on this than I have, but you sort of feel the one who probably maxed out, I think anyway, as a juvenile, would have more likely to be Knight Salute. Sorry, Milton, if you're still on. Than Pied Piper, who, don't know, a bit more scope. He's
definitely got a bit more. Well, he has plenty about him physically, and he, like I say, I think he had him well behind at Cheltenham in the Triumph as well, didn't he?
Yeah, remember how good he was last year when he first announced his way on the scene over here.
I think he's a smoother hurdler than Knight Salute. He's always got a bit of a. I know he did really well, but just when he went into the big meetings, even at Aintree, he wasn't foot perfect with his hurdling. So I just think Pied Piper of the two is the likelier to kick on this season and maybe progress himself into sort of a top level contender, at least in open company.
We know the track's fine for both horses. Jack Kennedy's going to ride Pied Piper this weekend. Paddy Brennan will be on Knight Salute, and whatever happens, we won't blame track.
No, track's no issue, and ground shouldn't be, should it? If they're saying it's going to be goodish at this point, it's going to be a speed test. They're both speed horses. The one who we haven't mentioned, who has, I suppose, the ability to cause something of an upset, might be Porticello, but he strikes me as a bit of a mudlark, and I wonder if this might be a means to an end. You've got a scopy youngster like him, you've got a potential 4-year-old allowance if you decided to go chasing with him. So it might just become a match between the here and now horses as they are. He's
less likely to be revved up, isn't he? I suspect Pied Piper will end up being an odds-on shot, to be honest, Niall. He's about 11 or 8, 6-4 at the moment. As you said, 6-4, 7-4 the pair. But I think as the race cuts up a little bit later on in the week, I think Pied Piper will probably end up odds-on.
Good means of comparison with that, actually. What were their SPs in the races in which they met? He'd have been significantly shorter than him, Knight Salute, every time, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was and then on the back of Cheltenham, Knight Salute was a big price at Aintree because he was down the field.
10-11 or something at Aintree.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the feature hurdle race. Couple of good chases on the card. 3 mile, 1 handicap chase at 205.
Yeah, that would be my strongest sort of looking at the race at this stage. You've got the 205. It's a 3 mile one. 18 entries for it at the moment. There's 9 of the 18 that are double entered or have got 3. Some of them have 3 or 4 entries even. So there are other places that they could go. So 18 entries. That's not a big entry for a Saturday handicap. It'll probably end up being a 8-9 runner race maximum, I would say. Couple of horses of interest, primarily Curserien, who I think will go there. It's his sole entry for the race. He's a horse of John Joe O'Neill's. John Joe started the season pretty well. Last couple of weeks, we were at Carlisle last week. He had a double there. Yeah. Seems to have his string pretty well forward in terms of fitness. There's been quite a lot of comeback horses already through October that have been doing the business. Curserien, he ran in a couple of big handicap hurdles towards the end of last season, shaped well in the Martin Pipe at the Cheltenham Festival, and then he was 5th at Aintree in a big handicap hurdle there. And some of his form is just very robust right the way through the season. Now, he's still a maiden over fences, but he wouldn't have been if he'd have stood up at the last at Lingfield on his chase debut last season, which was going to be a really bright start to his chasing career. And I just think he's got a lot more mileage to come, over a lot of improvement in him this season over fences, and some of his form is very solid. So I'd be interested in Curserien at the anti-purse stage, because I think the
double figures to be honest, 10 to 1.
Yeah, he's unlikely to be, I would say. You know, I'd expect him.
He's no other entries, likely to run, likely to go off shorter.
Yeah.
Prepping for the show earlier, speaking of double figures, I first name on my team sheet sort of thing for the handicap chase. Thought, well, Splash of Ginger's going again. I was Hollow Ginge. One of the Gingers is going again.
Rewind in 5 years.
Yeah. If you write them names down the betting slip in the shops, you might get 2 or 3 running for you. So when I saw his name, I thought, well, perfect. He's going to be laid out for the race again. The wheels completely came off last year, didn't they, after that really good second to Gordon's horse, who runs again. But that was off 137. He's now off 127. And I was thinking, I said to him, the words exactly were, probably looking at 16th when he said, no, I've just checked the prices. He's 5s already. With the 5s, the each way part, the place part, is terrible value, isn't it? Who'd back him at 5 to 4
He's
at
either
place?
going to win or pull up.
Yeah,
he could
5s perhaps isn't absolutely atrocious, but I'd want closer to 8s, I think, if I was backing him, because he does have blowout potential.
In fairness though, Dan, he will run, and like I say, the race will cut up, so he's already popular. He could shorten up.
You'd hope, wouldn't you? It's an initial bit of money that I imagine. People are early in the market, they've seen the things that I've seen that jumped off the page. People might be happier close to the time to lay him out to bigger prices, and they might be willing to stand him at that stage.
I'm surprised last year didn't put you off for life. You were on him last year,
I did that stupidly smug thing. I was away for the weekend with the family, and he was, as far as I was concerned, he was in the process of slashing up. So I turned the phone to my brother to say, oh yeah, we're in here.
25.
And before you knew it, the anchor was put down and he got run out of it by Gordon. Probably kill that.
So there are a couple of races, a couple of horses we're looking forward to. Cheltenham, Aintree Sunday.
Can I add one more Cheltenham?
You can.
I see Editor de Gites in the 2-mile handicap, and I know he was held off this mark in the Grand Annual. But that's a Grand Annual run on atrocious ground. All his wins have been on good and good to soft. Perhaps he'll have other targets, because he might have needed the run at Ascot first time out last season, but he just looks like he'll bully those to me. You've got Clear the Runway, who I really like, might be the best horse Laura Morgan's trained, but he's been doing it at Cartmel and Worcester. El Baracho, bless him, but he's won a 3-runner race at Wetherby the other day where only 2 counted. I think if he's prime, he's just different class to those.
Yeah. I'd imagine that they'll have him pretty straight. Gut instinct would be have him pretty straight, and then they'll go for the grid. The slow chase.
Yeah, precisely. Because he's at that mark now.
153, isn't he?
He's on the sort of mark now where you can't be thinking, oh, well, we've got a project down the line. You're basically in graded territory anyway. Yeah. So I thought 5 to 1 was perfectly fair. Surely he goes a favourite if indeed
I agree
that is
with
the
that.
cup
Yeah,
final.
I mean he's a good bold jumper. It won't be a big field because it's not a big entry.
Really good Cheltenham record, bombing around there on quickish ground early in the season.
Good stuff. 1 or 2 in the race. Nasalem obviously for Gary Moore as well, but we'll see on Thursday morning what is declared. What will be declared for the old Roan Chase? I didn't think it was a vintage renewal, but you shot me down.
Alvaro Valtat's taking on third intention again.
Well, no, not that, but
I'd fancy it might be a bit better than it's somewhere in the middle, maybe better than the third intention year. Well, it'll be better for me if I back the winner. But we'll. I thought Miller's Bank was the obvious sort of horse that was overpriced at this stage in the market. He's about a 6-7 to 1 shot somewhere, something like that. And his Aintree record, he's been there twice, ran third in the Aintree hurdle on his first visit to Aintree, and then he absolutely sloshed up in the race, the Novice Manifesto Grade 1 at the spring meeting last year. So he's only been to Aintree twice. He's put up 2 of his career best performances there. We know that he's best 2.5 miles on a flat track. They tried him over 3 miles at the end of last season at Punchestown. That didn't work for him.
When he had a hardish, when he put a massive effort in.
He had put up a big performance, and you just going back to Aintree, I'm sure they will have earmarked this race a good way out to think, look, we've got to have him spot on for the old run. So he was sort of the horse to me that looked like he'd been missed. Hitman's at the top of the betting, expect him to run. You know, he's going to have a good solid chance under conditions that will suit him as well. But I think Miller's Bank will be the mover in the market over the course of the week.
I remain convinced Hitman's a 2-miler as well. Maybe the form book doesn't show it, but just the way he goes through his race, he's so exuberant.
He might just be a bit of a weak finisher.
Yeah, he could be.
He hasn't kind of won the races he should have won.
No,
I mean, this season's in 2 months' time we'll know with him, won't we? Because even after Sunday, to be honest, because you know he's going to be bang ready and you know, to do the job. But yeah, Miller's Bank, I mean, looking at it at this stage, you've got front runners, Soldier of Destiny or Garlaw. I don't think Jamie Snowden will run both of them, but he'll run one. They're both bold jumping front runners. You've got Captain Tomcat and Beakstown, so there should be a strong pace, and that would suit Miller's Bank perfectly because he likes to come from a little bit off it. Strong travelling horse, and if he puts in one of his good rounds of jumping, I think he'd have a big chance.
Interesting, Peter Norton at Market Raising at the weekend, chatting to Dan Skelton afterwards, and he was, just as a general point, I think of him similar to Nichols in the way they operate, having targets and stuff. He was sort of saying that generally he thinks he's about 3 weeks behind, but when one has got a target, it will definitely be ready. So you're looking at maybe horses that go into West Yorkshire Hurdle, things like that, the Mare Molly, all his wishes and horses like that. That'll be the same with Nichols, won't it?
Yeah, this is probably the start of it, isn't it, really, with Nichols, Hitman, and then he'll have something probably for the Charlie Hall, I would imagine. And
yeah, it's that time of year. Beakstown's in there with very little weight for the Skeltons. Yeah,
he's a funny customer and he looks an absolutely adorable horse to look at, but once he comes off the bridle, he finally got it done, didn't he, at Ayr after so many frustrating defeats, but I'd focus more on the many defeats.
I'd be sending myself back into Vibrato Valtat territory if I backed him.
Yeah, he is soft off the bridle, isn't he?
Yeah, okay, that's a look at the Juice in St Helens Old Roan Money's Garden on Saturdays, due off at 2:40. That's the sort of weekend the horses we're looking forward to. It's more about trainers, what trainers are out of the blocks, who are in form this time of year, isn't it? Yeah,
the one angle I'd have with that is, despite him featuring a power rankings that I saw in the paper the other day, Colin Tizzard no longer trains, but Joe does, and surely he's going to have Oscar Elite Bang ready for that novice on Saturday. I really like Ash Tree Meadow. This is Cheltenham again. Ash Tree Meadow's a horse, but I think he's a speed horse. I don't think he's a 3-miler. And it's one of those Oscar Elite. He would have won the race. I think it was his very race. Or one of them.
It was my first jump bet last year. I had 2 bets in the same race. One fell 3 out, the other fell to last. Genuinely.
Yeah. He would have won, wouldn't he? He was carting
he did look
unless he'd have stopped. You know he's got a history of bleeding, but I think Joe will want to set an early marker. First Cheltenham meeting back.
Yeah, it could be the day to catch him, couldn't it?
Okay, let's have a look at what's coming up this weekend. Okay, it's time now for team trackers. The lads are going to put up a couple of horses to keep an eye on in the short to medium term. Start with you, Martin.
Yeah, I've got a couple. We're going back to the flat, to be honest. As we work our way through, it'll be more jump space. But was at Nottingham last week. There's a big 3-year-old called Cumulonimbus, big unfurnished horse of Charlie Fellows. He's won a couple of times in September, but he's still shaped like he was very well handicapped to me. Went to the front easily, probably got there a bit too early. But as I say, just a big unfurnished type of horse that'll strengthen up, and I think he'll do well as a 4-year-old. So he's one for a little bit later on. Cumulonimbus of Charlie Fellows. Reigning Prophet, I'd expect to run nearer to hand. Now he's 0 from 12, so I could be hiding under the desk when we're back in a few weeks and he's been beaten another couple of times.
Should be after tipping flat horses.
But he's a strong traveller. We actually looked at him at the sales last season, Reigning Prophet, and I think he's well handicapped now. Went to the front like he was in top form and on a good mark at Nottingham last week. I think soft ground over 5 just caught him out, and I think he'll be winning soon.
Dan?
Well, Martin started with Cumulonimbus. I'm going for a horse by Cloudings, which is quite appropriate, isn't it? Harbour Lake of Alan King's.
He's lost me.
Yeah. Trevor Hemmings next.
Michael Fish.
Yeah.
As I live and breathe. Trevor Hemmings' horse, classic. Not like a big backward thing, but he's quite an athletic horse. He's unbeaten when completing, and I know it's only a Market Raising, sort of substandard for the grade, handicap on Saturday, but he did really well to win it. Horses got away from him, he was buried on the inside. I love how professional he is. He jumped really well under pressure, and I liked as well, and going back to last season when he saw off that horse of McCain's at Bangor, Jungle Jack, who got the inside rail, got the perfect Bangor ride, and Harbour Lake still just kicked him out of the way. I don't think he can go up much, and whether it's novice handicap chasing, whether it's staying over hurdles, I think he's got more in him.
He's the horse that won at Wetherby first time.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Debutant to win first time out, no experience of any racing. So even then, you're marking him down. But for him to do that at Raising in a tactical race when Quinlan was brilliant on the runner-up, tried to kick at the right time, got away from them briefly, and he just went in between horses, was brave, professional, and it's mainly how he's jumping angles. And he just seemed like, you mentioned it with Bayard, he's not Bayard of course, but his key attribute being how bomb-proof and how relaxed he is. This horse strikes me as similarly just very sort of amenable.
Okay, a couple of horses to keep an eye on, and a jockey to keep an eye on, and he's always a bit of value, is Davy Russell. It's okay being very good in England and Ireland, but like anything, music, actors, whatever, you've got to break into America if you want to be very, very big. And the man who's going to join us on Jockey Focus is Davy Russell, who's just done it again. Davy, welcome along.
Big in the USA.
You're bigger than Tom Hanks apparently over there. Marcan, a horse I had a share one a couple of years ago, so it was me putting you on the map in the USA. But what happened this weekend?
Oh, we had a great weekend. The Insider won the juvenile, and Ted Hastings then won the champion hurdle over there. So, and Xavier Pimpernel ran a good race. He finished third in the handicap. So we had a great couple of days in Far Hills. It's probably their biggest race meeting of the year. So super. So
you and Shark Hanlon are basically like the Ant and Dec of America.
Yeah, we're a duo. Yeah.
But there's a third person in there. There's a third person behind the scenes who doesn't get a lot of credit. Maybe should. Pickles. Tell us about Pickles.
Oh, Pickles, come up here. Come on. Poor old Pickles is a little bit sad.
He lost a bit of weight this week, didn't he?
Well, he lost more than a bit of weight.
What happened?
He lost his manhood, and you can just see it in him. He's just not the same. He's just not the same fella he was.
Because he'd been busy, hadn't he? He'd left the house more than yourself.
He was more well known around the town than I was. So he had a couple of little haunts that he used to stop off there, and but we put a stop to his gallop anyway. Quick. He's not that eager to go anywhere anymore.
Looking forward to the season. Have you a bit of rain?
Yeah, we got a good bit of rain now the last couple of days. So I'd say we'll be looking, get the horses out in grass and get a bit of work into them, and then start kind of moving from there.
Yeah. Do you go to Gordon's much?
Usually kind of twice a week, but it all depend on racing. I don't go up during the summer. It's usually just during the winter. And when the racing is up there, I kind of stay over. I ride out in the morning, stay over, and go race the next day, and that kind of carry on.
How good was Punchestown the other day? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, strongly run race, and it was lazy halfway through the race, but there's plenty of improvement in him. He hasn't a whole lot of work done, so you'd be hoping that he'll need to improve from it now. It's a big step up. His next step is a huge step forward again, but he made it well. He done it well last year to make the step up. So he was only just chinned in Down Royal last year, and then he won at Christmas, and he ran a good race in Cheltenham. So we know it's in the tank. It's just to keep it going.
Gordon was saying after the Punchestown race that he'd only been away from home once on grass, so he may be entitled to take a step forward fitness wise as well.
He will, and he wasn't clipped, and it's this time of the year. Gordon is trying to stop him from being clipped for as long as he can. So they'll all be clipped out now, and it makes a big difference when them horses get clipped out, and to get back into that routine of being worked on grass and things like that to improve as the year goes on.
It was good for obviously Ian Ferguson. He's a big part of it as well.
Ian's a huge part of the whole thing. He looks after a horse on his breaks and things, and he's at every day the horse is running. When Ronnie can't come, Ian is there to supervise everything, and he kind of pre-trains the horse and brings him forward so Gordon can finish him off. So Ian's a big part of the whole thing.
He ran well obviously at Cheltenham last year behind a Blue Tart, etc. He'd be a good ride in the Grand National, wouldn't he?
He would. He's economical with what he gives the jumping wise, but the last day in Punchestown he jumped really, really well. He was probably the best he's ever jumped. Just not a big extravagant jump. He's not over big now.
He'd be bigger than Tiger Roll, wouldn't he?
Yeah, not a million miles between them now. There's not much between them. He is bigger than him, yeah, but he's a different type of horse altogether. He wouldn't be as strong as Tiger. Tigers would be a little bit smaller and stronger, and this lad is not that much bigger, but he's got a big enough heart in him. And Gordon has done a marvellous job with him. You must remember, like, he's summer campaigned him all through his novice chase career, and then he won the 4 mile, and then he's slowly, and next thing he exploded onto the scene, you know.
What makes Gordon so good with these horses? Oh,
it's unexplainable. His attention to detail anyway is second to none. Nothing goes astray. He just knows how to get them horses fit. He knows, and there's, you know, he runs them until they find a level, and when they find their level, they're very competitive at that level, and he tries to keep them at that level. But his horses seem to improve as the year goes on. You know, they'll either, if they don't improve from their first run, you know, that's probably just as good as they are, you know. But he's just brilliant. His attention to detail, what he's done up in Cullentra over the past couple of years is really phenomenal. You know, as you've seen firsthand, it's definitely worth seeing what he's built and what he's done. And he's very intelligent. He knows where things need to be. He's not afraid to go and explore the next new thing, like, you know, whether it be swimming pools or, you know, outdoor stables and all these different nicks and knacks, just to see what suits the horse the best, you know. And it all comes down to the horse with him.
Absolutely. His record's unbelievable. With your time off for your neck injury, did you get a chance to soak up Tiger Roll? Do you know when you're riding and week in, week out, and you're watching your weight and you're driving around the country, and did you get a chance to really realise what's happened?
I don't know. I suppose when I had time off, I was busy. You know, I was still busy trying to get back to ride, and I never really stopped thinking about riding. Although I wasn't riding, but I was back riding out early enough. I was riding out for a couple of months before I actually went back race riding. So I never really stopped to think. No, I didn't. I'm afraid to be honest. I think I'll do that when I'm finished up, and then they'll move on to the next person. So,
what age are your children now?
Jamie is 19. She done her leaving cert this year, and she's got a job working in an auctioneer's in local town up the road there. And Lily is 8. Finn is 6. He'll be 7 next week. Liam is 4, and Tess is 3.
God, you could do it. What Pickles has had this week. You're not got TV.
The television was broke.
Right. But it'd be nice for, obviously, the older ones will remember Tiger Roll and the magnitude of it.
Yeah, it really sits with them. They speak about it the whole time. They love the whole scene. And I took them to Aintree this year, and it was a fantastic couple of days.
Good for you to do that.
Yeah, and I was able to, and I was just watching them as they were walking out in the track, walking down to see the chair, and at their age, the size of the chair to them, like, you know, it's big enough for us, not to mind them. And, you know, I was explaining to them that you could drive a car into the front of this, and their awe and their amazement with the whole thing. And I'm just so glad I'd done it while I was riding, instead of kind of coming back as I has been. Not as that, but you know what I mean. You know, you might, when you finish riding, and that's it, and you need to move on. But I was so happy I'd done it while I was riding, and got them to see it, and they could see the whole thing first hand. And lucky enough, Three Stripes Life won on the day, and they were all there, and we all enjoyed it. So it was super.
Did you explain to them about me and you knocking around Sedgefield all them years ago, and Hexham and Newcastle?
They know all about your antics around Sedgefield and Hexham. And was it Hexham or Cartmel? Which was your real that you
lightweight
excelled?
Cartmel.
I thought it was Cartmel. And for what reason was it always that you excelled?
The pace better over a fence than you'd ever be. Just better than you.
Dicky Toffee Pudding.
Yeah.
Dicky Toffee Pudding was always always your incentive to.
Careers went different ways after that, didn't they?
Over the line. Yeah, Yeah, I leveled off. I leveled off, and you just
I got bigger.
kept on improving.
But I never broke into America.
Do you remember we used to have to get the go-kart from the weigh room out to the sauna,
The sauna, yeah.
and back in again. It was great.
Petrified about £6 to lose in about an hour and a half, and everybody wanted to sell a sticky toffee poo.
And you had to walk in through all the cans of Coke and all the cans of 7-Up as you were going in to lose £6, and you drink water out of a dirty puddle if you could get it.
Yeah, and be happy for it.
Yeah.
Those halcyon days. So what are we looking forward to this winter? Mick Eastby wants you over here, doesn't he? Is it true that you might be coming?
Mick is on about giving me a retainer. He's once he gets that tooth sold, we're going to talk about.
If he doesn't sell it, he's going to give you a tooth, but that means you have to pay for your own flights. Is that true or not?
No.
Yeah. Is that his? No.
No. That's me. That's it's not even mine. I don't know who owns it, to be honest. Some dentist put it in there. So, I think Mick's would fit right in there.
Give it a go.
I'm going to put a couple of bids on it.
Yeah, good stuff. Davy, good to catch up. I hope you've had an immense season once again. It was a pleasure watching you at Punchestown. I'm sure I speak in all jump fans. We are really, really looking forward to you this winter once again.
Thanks, Nate. Man.
Good stuff, as always, from Davy Russell. He's a character as well as being... I must admit, I really enjoyed watching Galvin the other week.
Yeah, I mean, over the last few years, his record speaks for itself at the big festivals, and there's been no better man for the big day, has there?
And to come back from that injury as well.
Yeah, I think we started the show discussing the idea of, you see courses reappearing on the calendar and horses being entered. I think when you see D. Russell's name next to Runners for Gordon at Cheltenham on a weekend, you're realising then, it's on now. Yeah,
it very much is on. Looks like Jack Kennedy will be on Pied Piper at the weekend, but yeah, looking forward to Davy. Good stuff. We're looking forward to the season ahead. Thanks to Martin. Thanks to Dan. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. We'll see you soon.